Hello, this is Evan Macknick, and I'm going to take you on a tour of the Rails installer. First, we're going to download and set up Rails installer. Then, we'll create an awesome Ruby on Rails application. I'll show you how to host your code on GitHub and finish up by deploying to Engine Yard Cloud. The first thing we need to do is download the installer from railsinstaller.org. Just click on the abnormally large download button and it will fetch the latest version. After it completes, open the installer and click Next. Accept the licenses, and it installs to C Rails Installer. You can specify a different directory, but make sure there are no spaces in the path. Once the installer has completed, you can see the links to the website, mailing list, and IRC for Rails Installer. If you need help with general Ruby on Rails, there are links on the website. Click Finish and it immediately brings up the command prompt to complete the configuration. Enter your name and email and you see that it outputs your current Ruby on Rails environment. Also, it points out that our SSH public key has been copied to the clipboard. This makes it easy to add your key to GitHub and Cloud. Now that everything is wired up correctly, we're going to generate a new Rails application. From the command prompt, run Rails new Rails installer demo. Go into that directory and run Rails S for server to start the server. Navigate to http://localhost:3000, that's port 3000, in your browser, and you should see the default index.html welcome page. We can also see information about the environment, like the Ruby and Rails versions. If you look at the command line, you can see the request that went through. Now we'll open a new command prompt and open the application in a text editor. I use Vim, but there are many other tools out there. One great one is Redcar, which is cross-platform and actually written in Ruby. Sublime Text is another very customizable editor, which a lot of people swear by. If you want something more full-featured, check out JetBrains RubyMine or Aptana Studio. Back to what we were working on, I'm going to create a new welcome page. Let's open up the routes file, and you can see all sorts of comments about routing. I'm going to set the root route to go to the welcome controller index action. In the app controllers directory, we only have the application controller, so I'll generate a new controller called welcome with an index action. Take a look at the app controllers folder, and you can see it's generated a welcome controller for us. Let's open up that file, and you can see it contains an empty index action. We'll go ahead and modify the corresponding view under App, Views, Welcome, index.html.erb. Let's go ahead and change it to say, Welcome to the Rails Installer Demo. Save that file, and if we reload localhost 3000, we still see the default Rails page. This is because we haven't removed the index.html page from the public directory. If you look at the request coming through, it's serving it from public as a static file. If we remove the file and reload the page in the browser, we see our new welcome page. Looking at the console, we should see the request, and it's loading the welcome controller and index action. Now that we've written this amazing application, let's share it with the rest of the world. Navigate in your browser to http://github.com, and you can either create an account or log in if you already have one. I'm just going to go ahead and log into my account. On the dashboard, click on New Repository and fill in the information. We'll do Rails Installer Demo for the project name. And for the description, you can put in whatever you want, but we'll go ahead and do Rails Installer Demo. And the home page will do railsinstaller.org. I'm going to leave access to anyone and then click on Create Repository. On the next page, GitHub shows you what you need to be able to correctly create your repository and push it to GitHub. So back on the command prompt, run git init, which will initialize the repository, git add dot, which will actually add all the files in the current directory, and then git commit -m initial commit. And this commits all your changes. Next, we'll copy the line from the existing repo and paste it into our command prompt. And all this does is add a remote for whatever git URL you give it. So if we do git push origin master, origin is the name of our remote. Go ahead and type in yes, and we get a permission denied because of our public key. Go ahead and run the public key command to copy it into your clipboard, and we'll go back to GitHub to add it in. Click on Account Settings, SSH Public Keys, and click on Add Another Public Key. Give it whatever title you want to distinguish it from the others, and then paste in your key from the clipboard. Now if we push the repository, everything should work. So back in the dashboard, click on the repository, and you can see all of our files are now there. This is fantastic. Now we have our code backed up, we can make changes, commit them, and restore to a different point if we break something. The other thing we can do is have our application running from somewhere besides just our local computer. Go to www.engineer.com, and they're running a free 500-hour trial, which we're going to take advantage of. Sign up for the trial, and it sends an email to your account, so you'll need to verify through that email. Click on Engine Yard Cloud. We should already be logged in, so give your account a name. I'll just do emacnic Rails Installer, and click the Start Trial button under Free Trial. We need a Git URL which you can grab from the GitHub page for your application. I'll go ahead and copy the read-only link and paste it in. The application name is automatically filled in, and we'll select Rails 3 since that's what our application is. You can see it starts off with 500 hours on a medium instance. You can also upgrade your account if you'd like to go to a full account. On this page, you can actually see it's booting an instance for us, though this can take a while depending on the size of the instance. At this point, go ahead and get a cup of coffee or answer some email, and then come back when it's finished. Okay, so we're back after the coffee, and we can see our instance is now running. If we click on the HTTP link, we actually see an error, and this is because Engine Yard Cloud uses a MySQL database by default. Since we didn't add the corresponding gem to the application, it isn't able to find the adapter. Go back to your editor and open up the gem file. Add gem MySQL2 group production and save the file. Now run bundle install -- without production from the command line. This will make sure that the MySQL2 gem is installed in production, but not in our development application. And since we're on Windows, we need to do a couple extra steps to get this to deploy across platforms. Open up the gemfile.lock in your editor, and you can see on the MySQL2 line it has x86 mingw32 after the version number of the MySQL2 gem. Go ahead and remove that and save the file. And you can also add in Ruby underneath platforms for good measure, just to make sure everything works correctly. We'll just do bundle install without production again to make sure everything works correctly. And then we'll add everything to our Git repository and commit our changes. Then we just push the changes to the remote repository. Now this is a good time to show you the Engine Yard gem, which is nice for interfacing with Cloud from the console. Run gem install Engine Yard, and after it finishes we can see the commands we can use by running ey-help. We want to deploy, and since we only have one application and environment, we can run ey-deploy. Now if we run ey-deploy by itself, it's not going to run any migrations, and we want it to go ahead and migrate and create database tables for us. So we run ey-deploy -- migrate and whatever migration we want to run, in this case rake db:/migrate. The first time you do this, it will ask for email and password to fetch your API key. And it fails because we need to add our public key to Engine Yard Cloud, and we can do that in the SSH public keys section on the dashboard. Give the public key a name again, and then just paste in your public key from the clipboard. Click on Add Key, and one thing we need to do is go back to the dashboard and click Apply on the environment so it picks up the changes. After it finishes, we'll do ey-deploy again, wait for it to finish, and then we can either refresh the page in the browser or use ey-launch, which will actually launch the application in our default browser. And we can see everything is working correctly now. So there you are, folks. Download the kit, deploy it on Engine Yard, share it with your friends, and start enjoying Ruby on Rails. Thank you for watching, and I'd like to thank Wayne E. Sigwin and the rest of the Rails Installer team at Engine Yard for making it easier to develop Rails applications. Good luck and have fun!